Right, on that note, that the second verse is the same as the first, we are going to put an end to that dreadful start to the lesson. I cannot apologise enough. That was Herman's Hermits. I'm Henry the Eighth I Am, which, in my opinion, was one of the worst songs ever written. Okay, guys, moving on from there because we're going to have a fab lesson and a brilliant day. So, good morning, everyone. I've got the date correct today, which is a great start. We're going to start with our spag. We're going to look at word meaning and spelling. Let's get rid of Herman's Hermits. Boom! Much better. Back on track. So, what are we going to do? Our first task this morning, I'd like you to use the correct word for each sentence. You'll also need to include punctuation. Okay, so really think carefully about your punctuation for these sentences. Now, the spelling that we looked at yesterday all ended with ment, so they all had the suffix ment on them. And hopefully you had a chance to discuss or look up some of the meaning of those words. So a word like parliament is a group of people who get together to discuss the laws. So we have the Houses of Parliament in our country in London. Okay, so that's where laws are passed by a group of people. Okay, like the Lords, people like that. Good, hopefully you know the meaning of those words. Let's have a look at our problem. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, you've got 5 sentences. I've included some punctuation, but not all of it. So you're going to have to look really carefully there. I'll read the sentences out, and then you can make a start. So the first one, the king has had her head chopped off, said the bishop. We will need a something queen. Okay, so think carefully about that one. The king's men gathered to go hunting. Henry signed to say that he would be the head of the Church of England. You could see that on the people's faces as they cheered the king. The new laws would have to be passed by. Okay, so I haven't done all of the words. There are only 5 that are missing. It's actually really hard to read when there is no punctuation. Okay, so that's why it's important to include it in your own writing. So good luck with that. Pause the video, have a go, and I promise I won't play that song ever again. See you in a minute. Right, welcome back, guys. So we're going to go on to our next slide and you can have a look and just check your punctuation next to mine. Okay, so here we go. So in red are the corrections and the words that were included. We will need a replacement queen. So the king's men had to gather the equipment to go hunting. Henry signed a document to say that he would be the head of the Church of England. Now remember, the Church of England is the name of something, so it needed a capital letter. You could see the enjoyment on the people's faces as they cheered the king, probably smiling out of fear. The new laws would have to be passed by Parliament. Okay, so hopefully those are all the ones that you have included. Let's move on. Right, so what do we actually need to achieve this lesson? You're going to look at some information from a range of sources. Now you've got your information sheet from yesterday, and that is still in yesterday's resources, so you can go back to that. I know we had a good discussion about some of the events that took place in the bubble yesterday. Okay, we connecting to Henry and his life. Okay, so that sheet's going to be really useful. And you are just making notes today, so remember you need to include things that are going to interest your reader. Now, there's always a lot of information being thrown at you, but you need to include things that you think your reader would find interesting. Okay, so it doesn't have to be masses and masses and masses of information, but make sure it's interesting. Okay, so we're going to watch 3 clips to do with Henry, and you will need to just make notes as you go through those clips. Obviously, you can pause and stop, have a think, write down dates, names, things like that. So that's going to be in the links for today. Clip number 1 is a mini biography, and it's about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long, and it's like an overview of Henry, so quite good for an introduction about his life. There is a word, turmoil. They use a word, turmoil. What does that mean? So have a little think about that. The country was in turmoil. Clip number 2, slightly longer, about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and this is an interview with Henry. So Henry is being interviewed by 2 children, and you get to see what his sort of personality is like. Okay, so again, make some notes from that. It's really interesting. And clip number 3 is Henry in court, and he's really having to explain what effect or impact he had on the country, okay, and in particular to do with the religion. Okay, so we had our Roman Catholics who were led by Pope Clement VII, so there he is on the right, and Henry disagreed with the Pope, so he just decided, I'm going to make my own church, I'm going to call it the Church of England, and I'm going to be at the head of it so I can do exactly as I please. Now this obviously upset the Pope and the Catholics that were in the country at the time. So clip number 3 really centres about that, and that will be a focus for your biography. Okay, so that's a really important one. What changes did Henry make to the country, and were they for the better of the country? Okay, so did it better the country? Did it make it a better place? It's for you to decide. Okay, so go to the links, watch the clips, and I'll pause here, you pause there, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay guys, so this is what I would like you to do today. You need to have gathered enough information about Henry's life to create your own sort of mini biography or fact file. So what have you learned about this man? Okay, so you need to use a range of sources. Okay, so we've got the mini biography, the information sheet, an interview. You should include dates and names, that's really important. You could use subheadings. You might draw a timeline to help you with your chronology. When was he born? When did he come to the throne? When did he become king? When did he become ill? When did he die? So it could just be a short chronology on a timeline, just to get those facts into your head. Okay, so I am going to stop there and just say great nuts.